Hey guys, welcome back to our Success After 6 Liberty Location virtual read alouds. Right now we are reading one of my favorite books. It's a really funny book. It's about a cowdog named Hank. We're reading the original adventures of Hank the Cowdog. We are a little over halfway, so we're going to be wrapping up this book probably before the Thanksgiving break and then jumping into another one soon after. So let's get started with chapter 10. Aged mutton. Must have been a couple of days later that I was sitting on the edge of the cap rock, sunning myself and looking off in the distance. I'd been there most of the day thinking about things and enjoying the quiet. The coyote village was awful noisy. It seemed that somebody was always in the midst of a squabble. When a husband and wife had a difference of opinion, they just, by George, had a knockdown, drag-out coyote fight right there in front of everybody. Nobody ever seemed to get hurt, but I guess they managed to solve their problems. I never could get used to the noise of it. And the hair. After one of them family fights, the air was full of hair and fur. A guy could hardly breathe. And then there was the kids. There must have been 10 or 12 pups in the village, and let me tell you about coyote pups. Now, a dog pup is kind of cute. I'm not real fond of babies, understand, but even I have to admit that a little old cowdog pup is pretty cute. He'll be fat as a butterball and covered with silky hair, and when he looks up at you with those big, soft eyes, you can't help but smile and say, "How's it going, kid?" Coyote pups ain't cute. They look mean, they sound mean, they act mean, and fellers, they are mean. They've got two jaws full of teeth that are as sharp as needles, and their idea of good, clean fun is to slip up behind some unsuspecting somebody, me for instance, and just bite off his tail. As a rule, I'm a pretty good sport, and I was a kid once myself and got into my share of mischief, but I can't get used to people biting my tail. I mean, there's something kind of special and private about a guy's tail, if he's got any pride. What I'm saying is that my tail isn't a play toy, but these kids, they'd sneak up behind me and sink their little needle teeth into my tail. First few times I just growled, "Y'all get out of here." Didn't work. Coyotes are a little slow about taking a hint. They came back again and did it. So I took sterner measures, cuffed one of them. Know what he did? He bit me on the paw. Well, I wasn't going to take that, so I bit him on the scruff of the neck, and he somehow worked his way around me and got hold of my left ear. That got me all inflamed, don't you see, and I put the boy on the ground and was spanking some manners into him when his mama walked up. "You brute, leave my junior alone." Huh? I looked around just in time to get slapped across the mouth. "There, you bully." I suppose I shouldn't have slapped her back, but I did. Whop, right across the nose. Maybe you can teach that boy some manners. Whop, chicken dog. Whop, wild hag. She burst into tears and went bawling to her husband, saying that I was just an animal and had beat up her and her kid, and called her a wild hag. Turned out she was Scrunch's wife, and here he came, all humped up and hair raised and yellow eyes a-flaming. I had taken about all I wanted off Scrunch and his family, and I was ready to go into combat, but Missy and her father jumped in between us and averted a civil war. The incident didn't do much to improve relations between me and Missy's brother. I had a feeling that sooner or later we were going to have a showdown. Funny thing about all this, those coyotes don't mind chewing on each other. I mean, they were fighting all the time, but when I tried it, they didn't like it. It made me think that no matter how long I stayed, they would always think of me as an outsider. Anyway, I was sitting on the ledge, off to myself and away from the noise, when Missy came up. She nuzzled me with her nose and ran her claws down my backbone. "Something wrong?" Hunk looked sad. "Oh, it's nothing. Just want to be alone, I guess." "Not enjoy other coyotes?" "Well, do you ever get tired of all the noise? And all that fighting and yelling?" She shook her head. That happy sound when coyotes make some happy coyote bunch kind of noise. When we married, we make happy bunch noise." "I see. Yes, well, we'll have to look at that." "When pup come, even more noise." "Oh boy. Oh boy." Hunk not sad. "Missy have something make Hunk feel good. We have feast, a special food, just for you." I followed Missy into the village. We went to her parents' den. They were sitting out in front, and the old lady was pulling cockleburs out of the chief's tail. Missy asked if her mother had prepared a special meal just for me. She said that she would. She left and was gone for 10, 15 minutes. I tried to make conversation with her father, but it wasn't easy. He started talking about the old days, about a time when he went a couple of rounds with a skunk. He seemed to think that this story was hilarious. I thought it was moderately funny. The chief was still cackling at his own wonderful story when the old lady returned, dragging in some horrible stinking something or other. What is that? Aged mutton. Aged mutton? She nodded and smiled. Special feast. Aged mutton. No doubt it had been buried for a while. It was green, dotted here and there with white spots, which turned out to be maggots. The smell alone could have taken the paint off a corral fence. The taste of such rot was too horrible to imagine. Missy's mother dragged it up and dropped it right at my feet. When she smiled at me, she looked an awful lot like her daughter, except she had several teeth missing and some of that green stuff hanging from her lower lip. Meat aged for many months. Just right. The old man threw back his head, let out a howl, and dived into it. The old lady did the same. Missy did the same. I took a deep breath, said a little prayer, and dove in too. Let's don't go into any details. It was bad. It was so bad that there are no words to describe it. I'll say no more. An hour later, I was lying down with my head over a cliff. I had emptied my body of everything but blood and a few bones. Missy stood over me, stroking my brow. She'd been very nice about it all. They all had been. She decided that I had drunk some brackish water, and that's what had made me sick. Hunk feel better now? Feel better? Sort of. Hunk like coyote feast. Oh boy. Now Hunk ready for big raid. I raised up my head. Huh? This was the first I had heard about the raid. This was going to be my big chance to prove to Missy's father and mother that I was worthy of their daughter. Scraunch was putting the deal together. A raid on the ranch. Uh-oh. Looks like Hank is going to have to decide whether he's going to stay with the coyotes, or maybe he'll go back to the ranch. We will find out in Chapter 11, The Attack on the Ranch. See you guys then.